Superman issue 1, the big new number 1 of the week, following on right after Man of Steel number 6, which we got last week. Well, I'll just ask you, Matt, how did you feel? How did you like it?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. Again, I didn't expect it to be so informed by current events. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is not a fresh start, to borrow a term from another company, but it feels like Superman still. Bendis has, he has a flair for writing the character, and yeah, it's very Superman focused. It's not so much Clark Kent. Like Clark shows up in stuff, but it's Superman going about his business over like the course of a day and a night, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, because he's out looking for Lois and John, and he ends up there's like a Dominator like fleet
Yep.
coming towards Earth, and it kind of reminds him, you know what, I'm needed on Earth, and I should trust Lois. They'll be fine. I'll go back to Earth and go where I'm needed. And we get a couple of sad flashbacks as he's remembering like a nice morning with Lois and a nice morning with John as he's joking with his son and is all the rest of it. But the big thing is that the fortress was destroyed, of course, and
Yep.
I actually did get a chuckle out of like Hal being like, "Hey, the Guardians sent me to make sure we've catalogued all of your weird alien technology that could cause chaos." And that cracked me up. But Diana's like, "Oh, you'll build a new home, yes?" And you see him like pick up like a crystal from the
Like a
wreckage.
sunstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we see him go out to the Bermuda Triangle and drop it into the ocean, where it forms a new fortress of solitude in the water.
Very Superman the movie, or even Returns, right? Like the Kryptonian island.
Oh yeah, I can see what you mean by that. I like this a lot. I don't really care if it's in the Bermuda Triangle. It's a nice
Yeah,
touch,
I
but
did.
um,
Bendy, it's a little bit hacky, my man. Like,
ah,
I get
is,
it.
is it any
It's
more
mysterious.
is it any more hacky than the idea of the fortress in the first place in the
Well,
Arctic?
I understand it up in the Arctic because it's so isolated. But the thing with the Bermuda Triangle is the Bermuda Triangle is actually pretty busy. Like there's shipping routes and whatnot. Like it's not this isolated place that people think it is, but it
Sure.
carries the name carries a value of like this mysterious place where things go missing. You know.
I guess we could just sort of say in the DCU, like ships just avoid it because they actually are superstitious about it.
Yeah, well, I mean that's how it actually works in the real world
Yeah.
too. But like more ships do go missing there, and there's some weird magnetic properties and whatnot. And now you can chalk that up to the fortress, the new fortress being there. But I always like the idea of it being up in the Arctic, and just because it's so isolated up there, and it made sense for Fortress of Solitude.
I mean, no,
You know,
I mean,
they,
I had no problem with it being in the Arctic, but we've had it in the Arctic for decades and decades, so I mean, I'm kind of
yeah.
fine. I think it looks
I
cool in
don't
the
mind the
water.
change. It was just I saw Bermuda Triangle and it made me roll my eyes and go, all right, cool. But but yeah, it definitely did remind me of when Gene Hackman wanted to make all that real estate, you know, and then we saw in Returns the Kevin Spacey version manage that.
I wasn't really thinking about the movies too much. I was just something about the formation of the rocks and the crystals in the water just looked really nice to me. It was kind of like it was even harder to get to now because like it doesn't look like a ship could just go up and like dock next to the fortress.
Yeah,
Like it's so as hard as it is to get to the Arctic, and it's very hard to travel in the Arctic. It's still good ground. You can still walk on it if you've got the equipment
yeah,
and stuff. Whereas this feels like it's the edge of like Skull Island or something like that, where it's just so
yeah.
like treacherous and dangerous that.
If Bendis really wants to get me on board, he'll just put a perpetual storm around it, and
Mm,
Titano lives there. We'll be good.
I could see it. I could see it. So he does that. So there's some nice setup in this, and it's actually Jean comes to see him. And honestly, if I have one complaint about the issue, is I do think Jean's a little bit off.
Yep. John does not feel like John Jones as we've seen him since his return.
Now, I've heard that his attitude here is a little bit closer with what he was in the New 52, and that's maybe what Bendis is doing here. He's
Yeah.
adhering to the current version, technically, is what it was supposed to
Hmm.
be. But as someone who's not read any of that New 52 stuff,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
likes the fact that we've got Jean, who feels mostly in the other books as classic Jean, this just rang a little bit weird to me. For the most part, I mean, the scene still works, though. Some glorious art. At the end of the scene when Superman flies off and Jean's left like floating there with the sun hitting him. It's
Mhm.
very pretty. It's very pretty stuff. Because obviously, I don't even think I mentioned Ivan Reese, of course, on the art for the issue.
Yeah. Oh, nice. It looks really good.
Oh,
Like
it does.
there's not a weak page as far as the art's concerned. I do like the oh, give me 1 minute, and then Superman goes and does something as he's talking to John,
Yeah,
and then
it happens
I'll be
three
right back.
times. Yeah, it
Yeah,
happens 3 times where he flies off to go and like rescue or to like stop a crisis. And the second time, John's like, "Hey, I could come and help," and he's like, "Oh, there was fire in this one." He's like,
I
"Oh,
got this one. Yeah,
okay."
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
they're really, really gorgeous pages, and John's basically trying to tell Superman that you need to like maybe try and lead the world, like maybe like step in and be kind of a leader and like, lead humanity out into the stars. And Superman particularly doesn't like the fact that he says take control at one point. He says like, take.
Yeah.
He's not quite feeling that, and that's where for Jean it felt a little bit off to me as well. I didn't necessarily feel right that Jean was suggesting this exactly the way he
I
was.
like I like where it led from though. It was that people forget there's a lot of similarities between Manhunter and Superman,
Mm.
and that they were the last of their alien kind. But with Superman, it was because of a disaster, and with the Martians, it was they kind of brought it on themselves. So to have it be this, well, maybe it was a disaster, maybe it was genocide, and you need to take control of that situation. So this can't happen to Earth. I
Yeah.
kind of like John's reasoning, and I like that Superman pushed back against it because that's what Superman would do. He wasn't meant to be this leader. He's just this,
Uh,
So I always describe him as a fireman. If Batman's a cop, Superman's a fireman, and he reacts to
mm.
things. He's not out there trying to take
And of
control of
course,
everything.
the fires are still going on. It's brought up. We don't get much of it this issue, but it is mentioned that it's still going on. He tries to call the chief to talk to her, but
Melody.
I think what's interesting about this issue is that it's very much setting up the themes of what the run's going to be. Obviously, there's a big cliffhanger at the end of what the first arc's doing, but it's very
Yep.
much setting up all those pages of Superman going and saving people. It's like, okay, so here's some classic Superman visuals. We're setting up the idea of the fires. We're re-establishing that John and Lois are gone. Just in case you didn't read Man of Steel, everything's kind of
Yep.
laid out. Setting up the new fortress, which is I think kind of the big bold new move. Okay, so this is the start of a new run. Let's do something big that kind of sets it apart. Because you'll always remember Bendis' run is the one that starts with, no, we've got a new fortress in the
Yeah.
ocean, in the Bermuda Triangle. So that's really cool. And the big twist at the end, well, not twist, but the reveal is
Yeah.
Superman's flying through it, and then like the atmosphere changes, and you're like, oh, something's weird here. What's happening? And he comes out of the Earth, and he realizes what's happened is the entire Earth is inside the Phantom Zone. And of course he's shocked, and he's like, "Wait, how did this happen?
Yep.
What's going on?" And my first thought was, "Well, Rogol Zar's in the Phantom Zone. Surely that means we'll be seeing him again soon." And sure enough, at the
Yep.
bottom of the page it says, "Next time Rogol Zar returns." I'm like, "Okay, all right, so
Yep.
we're doing it. We're doing it. Next issue."
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that he's not be like, oh, remember Rogol's are in like 4 arcs from now. He's jumping right to it because whatever. Now, does this mean that Zar messed up the Phantom Zone? Like, is he that capable?
Hmm.
Or does it have something to do with, you know, I don't know. Like, that's why Supergirl's going off because she trapped him in there, and I don't know. I like where it left it though, but I'm upset now I have to wait another month because now I'm so used to
Double
the
shipping.
double shipping
Yeah.
of it. Like, I want to know now, and we've just come off of a Superman book every week.
Yep,
Like,
and we have.
no.
I mean, we have Action Comics, but Action Comics, I believe, is doing a different story.
Story.
So it's almost you almost wish it was doing the like just double shipping both, so you could have this like every 2 weeks and then
Yeah.
Action every 2 weeks. But I get why Bendis is like, no, I don't want to write 4 books a month.
I fully understand it too. Like, I don't fault the man, but
I get it. And then like I
as
say,
someone enjoying myself, I just want more right now.
I suppose you could argue that he should have just taken one book, kept it double shipping, and just alternated. Like, this arc could have been the first arc, then the first arc of what was going to be in Action could have been the second arc, and then just
Yeah.
do all the stories he was planning on. But clearly he wanted to do this thing where he was alternating between the two.
Yeah, but I like the idea that they're gonna have different tones. Whereas
Yeah.
Superman's the Superman going around doing that stuff, and then Action Comics is the Daily Planet focused on Metropolis. And as someone that's always wanted that book, especially with Bendis writing Lois, where she's gonna be back sooner rather than later,
Yeah, so it's like
I will hold off.
it's like
It's fine.
two or three issues in. I think she's back. It's not a long
Yeah.
time.
It's
So
it's worth the wait.
no, it's exciting. I like this issue a lot. I don't know if I necessarily thought it reached the same heights as some of the Man of Steel issues did at their peak.
No, but it's the first. Yeah, it's the the kickoff. He has us hooked. As I just said, I want another one in 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good signal.
Well, like,
Also,
because you said to me, "Oh, you're pissed, you have to wait now," and I said, "Well, I think that's a
yeah,
good sign. Like, I think
yeah,
that's a good
exactly.
thing."
Like I'm not when I say pissed, I'm not like, oh, I'm upset. Like I want. It's like, oh man, like pissed was not the right one, but it was still fresh, and I was reading early in the morning. So,
Ah, makes
but
sense.
yeah, I also Bendis has such a voice for the Justice League. So when they pop up in that page, and he has Hal and Barry already, I feel down. Where
You can almost feel that in like 3 or 4 years' time, when he's done with Superman, he might be taking over Justice League from Snyder. You can almost
yeah,
feel that that's a possibility.
yeah,
Um, Unless he's doing
so
Batman first, because I feel like Bendis is probably going to have big runs in all the major
yeah,
characters eventually, right? Like,
yeah, as he should. So
and I think
but,
it's smart they're not doing like multiples to begin with. I feel like it's probably. I mean, I can see them overlapping a little bit, but I think it's a really smart idea to just not just. It's just Superman just now. He'll do some indie stuff as well alongside, but in terms of the big characters, it's just Superman.
yeah, yep,
Just does. So I guess we'll rate it then.
yep.
What do you think, Matt? What would you give it?
This was a solid 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
Art was great. The story is great. So, I wanted to give it a 9, but I had to temper it a little bit. Can't come out of the gates that hot.
Oh sure, yeah. I'm gonna go with a straight 8. I think for me, it's really good. I liked it a lot. I had some issues with Jean and how he felt.
Hmm.
Art's really good, as you say. I love the moment with the triangle. But ultimately, because it does so much, like with the I'll be back in a minute. All that was really
Yep.
fun. But I think the result is that as an issue, as a full chapter, I feel like there was less in this than maybe there has
Yeah.
been in some of the past issues of Man of Steel. So
Yeah.
I'll rate it slightly lower because of that. So straight 8 out of 10. But no,
Yeah.
I'm really up for his run. I'm really excited.
Al-
Good stuff.
Also, Bendis already understands that the Dominators are the joke of the DC Galaxy
Yeah.
because he writes in this thing like they were planning an invasion of Earth, and then they're never going to know why Superman was there. Like they'll never be able to piece it together that it was kind of dumb luck.
Yeah, he just happened to be
Uh,
out and about when they were
yeah.
coming. Yeah, that's good
So
stuff.
I like that a lot. Like he seems to understand that. That's great.